Your first question is like vowel spell checker. So given a word list and we want to implement a spell checker, we should convert our query word into a correct word. So let's say a query word is given to us, and the spell checker handles two categories of spelling mistakes. So like if in your word list yellow is given and the query is like capital O, that's case sensitive. So in this case, what you'll do, uh, I mean, you'll have to return the correct word. And let's say for the second, if the query itself is a correct word which is matching with our whatever we have earlier stored, then directly you return that word. So two things are there. One is capitalization, and other is vowel errors. So if it is small or big letters, whatever is like correct one you have to return. And regarding vowel errors is like, let's say yellow is word and E is replaced by O. So you can return the correct word by replacing O with E. And for this, since double E, there is no word with double E, so definitely for that you'll have to return no match or empty string, and same goes for this. And apart from that, the spell checker operates under the following precedence rules. Whenever the all those four rules which I mentioned, like if the query exactly matches the word, then return the word, same word itself. And if the query matches up to a capitalization, you should return the first such match in the word list. And if there is any vowel error, you can return the first such match in your word list. And secondly, if there is no match, you should return empty string in that case. So some of the queries will be given and we have to return a list of words answer, their answer applies the correct word for this given query. So coming to this kite, so first query is like KIT. So if we replace this, what do you say, big with small, you can directly get this, or you can find also this word in this.
Okay, so it says like the first query, which is small lowercase letters of kite.
Yeah,
So we are returning the word list first letter, which is K caps, I and T again caps, right?
yeah,
No, I think he is returning kite because he gets kite there, right? Which is the same
right.
lowercase, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, first if he finds that it is in the dictionary, then he'll return the correct match.
Okay. So in
Yeah,
the second case, in the second query, when it says only K is the capital, so then he is returning the first letter in the first word in the word list, which is
word.
K is capital and the T is also capital, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
again, hair matches exactly right. So it will return the same thing.
Mhm.
And for this, these are capitalization. So we can return this one, right? The first word, like by changing it to lowercase. And for this, we don't have any word, right?
Yeah.
We don't have any also. But regarding KT, if we swap these to INE, we'll get that word, right? The first word, this one.
Okay, that is the vowel. If we can interchange the vowels or maybe use any vowel, right? So if it matches in the word list, then that has to be the our answer. Okay.
The right answer, yeah. Then there is no such word double ET, right? KEET.
Hmm.
And for keto, if you even if we swap, we can replace here I with E with I and O with E, right?
Yeah.
And we'll find this one.
Yeah, but now in this KETO, all are lowercase. So he could have returned small KIT, right?
Yeah.
But he is returning the first one in the word list. And this is because, as per the rules, what they have given, right? The four rules. If you can just scroll a bit here. When he says, yeah, the query matches the word of capitalization, you should return the first such match in the word list. Okay, that is the reason he is returning the first word in the word list.
Yeah.
Okay. For the vowel, sorry, yeah. Yeah.
For the vowel errors, yeah.
Yeah.
In
And for
this
some
shift
concept.
example, this capital HARE, so we are decapitalizing, right?
Yeah.
We
Capital
are
H area. We are converting
so
to lowercase.
Okay, so can we just can we do both of them, like uppercase to lowercase and lowercase to uppercase, or it's just lowercase to uppercase only?
I think case sensitive you are telling, right? So both way around it should be.
Case
Yes,
sensitive means you
capitalization
need.
means to just convert to uppercase, right?
I didn't get, like, come again.
So, I mean, the way I get it, by capitalization, it means to convert to uppercase and then look for that particular word in the
In
word
this.
list. But
Yeah.
it's doing the other way around also, I think.
If you have a smaller one, yeah.
Yeah, decapitalizing and then looking for that word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like convert it into either a lowercase or uppercase, and then try to find that in the word list. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, you try to find the original word. If it doesn't match, then you actually convert it into lowercase. Okay, and then try to find the lowercase in the word list. And so whatever is matching, so the first one, whatever we actually enter, that should return. Because in this word list we have kites twice, right?
Yeah.
So actually we are going to consider only the first KIT. We are going to ignore the lowercase KIT, because it says we are only concerned with whenever there is a case sensitive issue, we are only going to return the first KIT.
First match, yeah.
Yeah. But if the words exactly match, then they are going to return the same words. And if
Yeah.
we are actually case sensitive, then we are just going to return the first case sensitive one. Same thing
Yeah.
applies with the vowels also, right? Because KIT and KITE, the first one and the second word in the word list, if you convert them into the lower one, lower case, both are going to be only one letter, one word, right?
Yeah.
So we just store the one which is the first case sensitive and do the same thing for vowel as well as for the capitalization. I
So
think that
if
is
we
what it
find,
boils down to, correct?
yeah, exactly. It's like if we find the correct word, you get that word itself. Otherwise, always look for the first match, whether capitalization or vowel error, right?
Right.
So in the last example, what we do first is we try to interchange, rather find the correct vowel, right? So we
Yeah.
get ITE all in lowercase,
Right.
right? In the
Mhm.
Yeah.
and next thing, I mean, we have this KITE word in the word list. So why don't we return that one, like small KITE? Why do we look for
No, if you
KI
replace
capital?
this with I in the first match, this you will get, right. I
Yeah,
mean, even
actually,
if you replace with IE, it's a small, all are small, but here some of them are capital. So if there is a case insensitive also, case sensitive, then in that case you can return the first word itself.
yeah,
No,
I
but
know.
first preference is given to that occurrence, right? So if I
Right, right.
interchange, if I get that vowel, I have KIT smaller one. So
Correct.
why have to go for the capital one?
No,
Yeah,
but
I
here,
agree what Harshish says. What he's saying, if KETO is there, and I can actually play with the vowels and get KITE, which is the second in the word list, which matches exactly. But
no,
what they are saying, yeah, go ahead, Shashank.
no, I was saying, but that is an error, right? It's not the exact word that they have given in the query KIT. There are some errors. After error, you are getting KIT. So this one will follow. No, if there are errors, then we'll return the first match in the word list, isn't it?
But
Right.
why?
Yeah,
How is this KI capital T a match?
Well,
it is a math because it's just case insensitive, right? So like Shashank is saying, so you are first of all, it's a vowel error case, and after you resolve that, right, you cannot focus on case sensitive match. You have to focus on just the content match, and the content match is working with the first, like the rule says, just pick the first match, and what you're
right.
doing with is case sensitive match. You are applying two rules. You are applying vowel errors, and then you're trying to apply the exact match.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not the case how they are, the precedence rules they have given. So you focus on the exact match. Let's say, if it was somewhere in the query list, like the first word, right? This is like you didn't play with any vowels. In that case, you know, it's an exact match and you should pick the second word, right? But if you have to play with vowel errors, then there are
So
rules.
if they
Exact match here is case insensitive.
Yes.
No, but KETO, you are playing with the vowels, so it doesn't come with the exact match.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
First thing we play with the vowels and then try to find a match irrespective.
First match.
Yeah.
Like
Always,
even if
always.
it's ignored the case. Yeah.
It's slightly weird, but yeah. But I think
Yeah.
it helps, in the implementation. If you really go with the implementation, yeah,
More of a rule based, like
correct.
yeah.
And so, what are the constraints? Any constraints? What?
Constraints that all the string in the word list and queries consist of only English letters, and they will be at most 7, length of 7, right? Each word, and their length will be like 5k for both query and word length at max.
Okay, so you are just going to have 7 words in a word list and a query.
No, you're going to have 5,000. Have up to
The
5.
length will be 7.
Oh, 5. Okay, the length of each word is going to be okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think the requirement are there is so much of things, but
Yeah.
but it's clear now, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now what will be the brute force?
So when I looked at the question, my first thought talking about, playing with this vowel replacement and the last constraint where they have 26 letters, my intuition was going towards like edit distance and try data structure.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the cases, the other side I was having was, can I just start with simple, right? Like just put them in a map, compare the word if there is an exact word. And I started with that because in general, I'm not very fluent with try at this point. So I wanted to see if my basic brute force, without using this advanced data structures would work, and which does seem to work actually. So I didn't even go with try. Basically, I used the concept of hash maps and so to come up with the strategy.
Okay.
And share a solution if you want, or if we want others to join in.
Sure. But what is the map a real brute force? But I think that would be more sort of an optimized version, right?
Yeah, with map. So
Yeah.
I mean, extreme brute force, like what it
But
should be, like
but going with the
each.
brute force also will be very difficult. It is based on so much of rules. You'll
Yeah.
still have to take help of a map, I think so, right?
Yeah, in that also, yeah.
Right. So first thing we do is we look for that word, that exact word, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we try to obtain all the permutations by, uh, you know, changing that letter to capital and then look for that word.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And yeah, so if we are able to find that word till this point, then we return true, and then otherwise we move forward. So that has to be like taken care of, the vowel thing. Replace each vowel by all the 5 other vowels and then look for that word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if there are many vowels, then we'll have to keep on making all
With this,
different combinations, right? Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So that will be a big thing. So yeah, map will be the best way to do it.
How to take care of AEET? That word, I mean, the second last word.
Capability actually, it is like we are not going to find anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what here, like, should we can't delete vowels, right? Only we can replace, that's it, I think.
Yeah, but
What,
then
no,
we go through the word list always. Okay, so if I take KET and that is my query, I'll start looking for the word list. If there is a same word with all those caps and everything, If I don't find, I'll actually traverse the whole word list. I don't find, then I go and actually convert each and every word in the word list to a lowercase, as well as this guy to the lowercase. As soon as I hit the first one, I return that.
Yeah.
If not, then actually I keep on changing KE to KAE, something like that, and then keep on again traversing the word list every time with each and every vowel change, right? If I find
Actually,
something, or else then return nothing. Yeah, go ahead. Devi.
yeah, so I found this idea in the discussion. So that was a good one, that instead of trying replacements and checking in the map again, what they are saying is one neat strategy is, since the rule says that you can replace any vowel with any other, vowel. So what they did was they kind of masked all the vowels in the given query. Let's say the word is kite.
Can you share the screen? Like it will be better
Yeah.
working. Yeah.
Let me know when you see it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so like this is the approach I did. So this is my exact word list, right, that I'm comparing my query against. And then this is my lowercase one to check the case and sensitive. And this is the clever idea about masked map. So where what we do is we first convert the word into lowercase, and then we replace all the vowels with just a wildcard, or you can replace it with one or whatever, just some constant. So the idea is that when you get a word like, um, let's say, KETO, right? In this case, you replace E and O with star. And then in your map also you have, maybe I can just run this and show you the mask map, what it looks like. So here's what my mask maps look like. So I have taken every word in my word list. And since I only care about the first match in the case of vowel errors, so what I'm doing is I take the first one, I replace the vowel with the asterisk. And so if I find this pattern in my query, I will return this word, kite, because this is the first word in my word list that I'm encountering. And then similarly for here, I have picked the first one, right? So that's the idea. So this becomes really easy now. So when you get a query word in the query, so this is my for loop. So first I check for an exact match, right? And then I check the case sensitive thing, that after converting my query word to lowercase, if it matches, then I return that. Or what I do is I change the query to the word to lowercase. So let's look at this one, KETO. So I change, it's already in lowercase, and then I replace all the vowels with asterisks. That makes it K star, T star. And then I compare it with my map. So which word in my map matches this pattern? So it is this first word, and that's what it's returned.
Okay. So in your this standard out, when the K star and T star, that is a key for the map?
Yeah, that's the key.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, right. So I'm mapping it with, this is my key, and it maps with the first word in the word list that matches that key.
So why only with first word? That's a capital D you are taking, right?
What is it?
No, like, I mean KIT first word starts with capital T, like K, that's why you are taking. Why not like KIT? Can't we match K star T star with that?
This one with this one?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
will violate the rule.
because it comes back to this rule, right, which says that when you're dealing with vowel errors,
The first match, right? Yeah.
you want to return the first match.
No, I thought that you will take it as a key and generate all the possible words like KIT and then capital one and then this
I'm not
one.
even, yeah, it's not about generation, it's just traversing your word list. And then you're saying you're using this clause called put if absent. So for example, this pattern K star T star will also happen in the second word, right? But I'm not
Yeah.
adding it to my map because I only want the first match.
Okay. So when you are putting in a map, actually you convert that into a lower case,
Yeah.
right? And then you put for the capital one also, as well as for the vowel errors. But at that time, you only change those vowels to the asterisks. Okay.
So I'm basically maintaining two maps, one for the general, like this is like no vowel errors, just case sensitive thing.
Mhm.
The second is vowel errors.
Yeah. Yeah, this is perfect, I would say, right? Yeah.
You're trying generating the mask and then
Yeah. And how do you do for the first one? Are you using a map also if they are the same words?
Yeah, so I'm using like for that, since I just have to compare the word, I'm just using a set.
Set, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 data structures.
Three data structures. And, yeah, the logic is, I mean, this was a clever idea kind of.
Yeah. Because generating, if there were many vowels, right? Because even if the length is 7,
Yeah.
if there are about 3 vowels, then the combination goes like 3 into 3, right? Almost 9.
Right.
Or
9.
maybe 3:3, yeah. That's a good one, yeah.
I mean, I'm
And
curious. I don't know. I didn't. Yeah.
and what do you think like will be the time complexity?
Yeah. So the thing is, first of all, we are going through every word in the word list, right? In these maps. So the time complexity would be definitely number of words in my, for the first loop, it would be number of words in my word list. And each word has a length of, I mean, this would be essentially bounded by.
Yeah, so even if we forget for some time the length of the words, because they are all constant, the max will be 7, correct?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So this would be number of words in the word list. And then for each, on now this one, right, when I'm creating, let's say masked map, I'm going through each word and I'm going through each character, right, of that word to mask it, right? If it's a vowel, I mask it. Basically doing this for each word and for each character, like basically again coming back to 7 characters maximum.
Yeah.
So, and then this would be bounded by number of words in my query set. So the total complexity should be order of m plus order of n.
Yeah.
so overall it's open plus.
Yeah. And every map you are only storing a single word. So whenever you hit on that key, you are just return whatever the value
First
is, right?
matrix.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I didn't had a chance to play with try, but if anyone has, I'm not even sure the complexity wise. Like I found this one pretty easy to implement was once you wrap your head around the approach.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah.
implementing try will be I don't know, because you are having all these, right, the case sensitive ones, so we'll have 2 different tries, maybe like a 256 children, something like that. It will be a big one.
Yeah.
It will be more complex, I think.
Again, vowel also error is there, right? So how to take care of all those things? Replacement of vowels, like if we take any word in try keto, so how we'll replace it and should we generate another branch?
Yeah, because in try you'll have to go through if you are at a particular child, right? And
Okay.
if you hit on a K and then the next word is a vowel, and if you have to search for every vowel, then you'll have to search for each and every children in that. Okay, and then go through the DFS for that each and every children to find for the next words. So the time complexity is too much, right? In try. In this case, I would say.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, sure.
So I think what
Won't
Dipti,
be even like I was thinking initially this hash map is taking extra storage, but even try would do that.
yeah, try would do that, as well as the time complexity will be more in try, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because here at least you use that wildcards, so
Right.
it has reduced the time complexity to a large extent.
Correct. I don't have to play with replacing and checking again.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that is the only, at least I would also think of. If anyone has a different approach, okay, it seems so. No
Yeah.
one has any other approach. Yeah.
It's
So
same like whatever she has done.
okay, can you share it?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure, sure. Me, Traya was seeing they're using some BFS and all.
Okay.
So I'm just using two dictionaries. Like one will contain or two errors are there, right? Case sensitive and vowel. So
Hmm.
two dictionaries I'm having. First of all, I'll create this set of all the word list that is present in your these original words. So that searching time will be of one. So I created a word perfect out of it, and then I have a dictionary for upper and for the vowel one. I'll go through each of the word in my word list and convert them to the lowercase, and I'm storing it in this. And now I'm checking whether this particular word, if it is not present in our upper word dot upper in this dictionary for the first time, then corresponding to that word, like after converting it to lowercase, I'll write the correct word for it. I'm forming the upper word dictionary first, right?
I think you are also almost same like DP,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
DP itself, yeah, yeah. Similarly, this
Yeah.
is for the upper word dictionary, and this is for the vowel. Like if there is a vowel mistake, then what should be the correct word corresponding to it? First match of the word, and this is my answer. So I'm going through each of the queries and converting them to the lowercase letters, and now this is like changing the vowel. So I've defined a function for that. It's
Which is
almost similar to
yeah.
Yeah. Almost same. Yeah, exactly same, right? Yeah. Hmm.
so for every character, I'm masking it with some asterisks or wildcards
Hmm.
and appending the character and just checking again. If it is present, then append it to your answer. Or if it is an uppercase, then get from that dictionary or from vowel dictionary. Or in case if you don't find, just return an empty string.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think this is the same implementation, but
Mhm.
yours is in Python, her is in Java, right?
Java, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
If somebody has try, I was saw that they were using try along with BFS.
Okay. Yeah. So there are implementations of try, and how is the time complexity?
Nice.
It will be too much. Yeah. If we have not implemented, then yeah, we can't make out, right? The way.
Yeah. Again, set they are creating and try they are defining using dict, and then they are reversing each of the word in your word list, and then for every character in your word that is not in the
So this is just building a try, and then you go to
it's
queries.
like masking only, right? Not sure. They're checking or if that particular character not word is present in your word list. If they are going for every word in your word list and checking if it is present in my try, then corresponding to that again, we are calling the try function.
Yeah.
Exactly, I'm not able to
Yeah,
imagine
I'm
like
not able to
this.
follow too. Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like going through the code. That's it. Intuition should be there, right? And then again, on the top of it, they're applying BFS.
yeah, I think it will be more time complexity than what the hash map was, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that is easier to implement also compared to this, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone has done it.
No, I don't think so. Anyone is on
Okay.
this. Not try.
We shall switch
This
to
is
next,
only
right?
up.
No. So next
Yeah.
is editing number. Okay.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Shisha, one.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
the wildcard character, like we can apply in so many different problems, right? Like uh,
Edit this. Mhm.
the approach you or deeply were sharing.
Okay.
So we can apply the same approach in so many different problems. But the only common thing is we need to observe that if there are vowels in the both the strings, like in the keys and the queries have vowels, which doesn't add any value to our answer, to our approach, then we can use this approach, right? Like I'm just pointing out.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah. So we just need to observe that kind of situation, and we can apply these wildcard characters like that.
Character approach. Yeah, makes sense.
No, I didn't get what exactly you are saying, Dilip.
I was saying that so we use this wildcard some wildcard character in the word
Mm-hmm.
approach, right? So we can apply the same similar concept in any problem where some of the words like we can change so that it won't add any value. Here, if we have a word in the word list that have a vowel, and even our query word has a vowel in the same index, so they don't add any value.
Oh, okay. You mean to say they don't make much of a difference if
Yeah.
oh, yeah, okay. We still arrive at the
So
answer. Okay.
yeah, if the problem is like a string comparison, and if we can observe these kind of things, then we can reduce the problem with this file character. So any problem which has this kind of situation, we can apply this approach, right?
Oh, okay.
Wild.
I got
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
that word ladder problem, word ladder one.
Yeah, yeah. I slightly recall that now. Yeah.
This question is again asked in Amazon so many times, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like so many cases, it's kind of tricky to explain the question.
Yeah. Hey, shall we at least mark this question for some of our sessions? Maybe the way what we were discussing last Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right,
sure.
we,
On
we
that
can pick
basis.
up some of very common medium questions, right? What Roger was saying, and then we can
Yeah.
actually, okay.
Yes. Yeah,
I'll
that
put
will
this
be
in the list, in the medium list now. Okay, because you are more keen on the medium ones, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And we can collect all the word ladders and all those things together.
And then we
And then,
can.
yeah, we can actually have some discussion. Okay. I'll mark
That's a.
this one. Yeah.
I don't know why dislike is there. Is it because of the nature, number of the rules,
Yeah,
large
because
number
it
of
is
the rules?
more complex also, right? Hey, now we understood it, and looking at yours and DP's implementation, it looks very easy. But initially, if you go through the whole problem statement, it's not
Yeah.
that easy. Yeah,
Getting intuition is little tough.
right. Yeah.
Okay. So next is our additive number. So it is a string whose digits can form additive sequence, and valid sequence will have at least 3 numbers. Except for the first 2 numbers, each subsequent number in the sequence must be sum of the preceding 2. And we have a string which will have digits from 0 to 9. And we have to write a function to determine if it's an additive number. Numbers in the additive sequence cannot have leading zeros. Like this 0 will be of no use. Again, this 0 will also be of no use. So these are invalid sequences. So here you can see 1, 1, 2, then 2 plus 1, 3, 3, 2, 5, 5, 3, 8, right? And here 1, 99, 100, then 199. And constraints are like digits will have 0 to 9 and length will be less than 35. How do you handle the overflow very large input numbers? That's a follow-up. Yeah.
Yeah, let's forget about the follow-up for now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what the whole problem statement says, we are given an input string, which is actually integer value, a big integer value. Then
String,
we
yeah.
need, yeah, so we need to actually form 3 different integers out of each and every combination, starting from the first index. And
Yeah.
when we add the first 2 numbers, they should match with the third one. And then similarly, we can keep on moving, right? We just discard the first number, then take the second number and whatever the last sum was, that is the third number was, and then make them 1 and 2, and then go for another sum, right? We keep on actually going through this string till we don't hit the end of the string. And if we
Correct, yeah.
find a match, then we return true. Okay. But now in
Very
the
true.
first example, when we just separate all the numbers like 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and when we do addition, everything is fine. But here only we have all of these numbers as a single digit. But what if we have digits which are of different lengths, right? So that is
We'll
that is more challenging, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, I think we are trying to find, that point, right? At what point, like, how do we demarcate, right? At what point do we split them, like in the, yeah.
So in that case, I would say, like, if you look at the example second, so there were the mixed match of that, right?
Yeah.
The first was a single character, then the second was a double digit.
Double corrected, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So then in this case, we'll have to look for each and every length.
For every
For all
for
lengths,
every
right?
item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So till the length of the string. But obviously we cannot do to the length of the string because that will be only single letter. A single, yeah, digit, single number. So in this case, we at least need 3 numbers. Right. So
Can
we'll
check
start at
that.
least.
So if you see the second example, 199, if you do the 1 plus 9, it is total is getting converted into the 10. It is 2 digit. So maybe then we can consider that second number should be the two digit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
199, yeah.
I am not sure it will satisfy all the condition, but at least second example is satisfying that condition. Then next, if you take the 99 plus 100, so if you do the addition of this 199, it is 3 digits. So we need to consider 100 as a three digit number, third one.
The backtracking kind of, if you don't find, then again you check for the next.
Yes. So if we don't find it, then we stop there, right? We just terminate going ahead and then we backtrack again.
Yeah.
Because 1 plus 9, 10. We don't find 10. We find 91 there, right? So we just terminate that DFS, backtrack it, and then go for the next digit.
Yeah.
199, yes.
Yeah. So 1 and 99, and then keep on doing it for all. Yeah. So this is going to be a sort of a DFS problem.
Yeah.
And I don't think so there will be a brute force. Yeah, we can find a brute force in this case.
DFS itself is a brute force, right? Backtracking itself. Like we are trying exhaustive all the possibilities. What brute force can be there apart from that?
Like we start with a choice, right? We take single digit, that doesn't work, then we go back.
Yeah, we go for the double.
Even.
Or maybe.
So, but we can form a sort of brute force, right? Like if you have this example 2, we start with single numbers first, like he described, Deepak was saying, right? First take 1 as we have a for loop, the top for loop, which will start with the 1 digit, and then the inner for loop, which will start again from 1 digit. And then whenever we don't find a match for the next one, we just terminate or break from the second for loop, then come out again. Okay, then increment. Oh yeah, we'll have to have 3 for loops in that case, right?
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
backtracking also same thing we are doing, right? One will try first with 9. If it is not, we'll terminate and then again choose for the next 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so how do you do with backtrack? I'm not getting that. Yeah, can you explain it?
Yeah, sure.
It's
I
not
was saying, like,
backtracking, I think it's just exploring all possibilities. Backtracking is something different.
yeah, you can say that also. Like,
It's like you have some choices, right? Like you have a choice of either picking 1 digit or 2 digit or 3 digit and so on. So backtracking to me is more like you start with your first choice, which is picking 9, right? Like 1 and 9. And then if that doesn't work, then like we are saying, terminate, go back to your choice list, pick the next choice, right? If
But
it doesn't work, go back and
the
pick.
way I think of it is, you set something and then you reset it also, right? So we're
Right.
not
Okay.
doing that in backtracking. Here itself, we're just exploring everything and just keep going without any changes, like setting or resetting part.
Yeah,
Backtracking, same thing
if
we
you
do, right?
basically, yeah, if you made a change while you were exploring something, then you need to reset it, right? In this case, I was thinking that if I'm picking 1 and 9, right, and I just checked that the sum that is not same as my next, digit, then I didn't like set something that I have to reset it. Then I just terminate my further exploration and I go back and try the next choice I have, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
so you actually just
yeah,
terminate the single ones,
yeah,
single digit numbers, and then you go for the 2-digit numbers.
right,
So
right.
that is a sort of backtracking, you can say, yeah.
Yeah,
But you are not actually doing something. You take a decision, and whatever you have done with the previous combination, you delete that, but you start with the fresh one. So
yeah,
it is a sort of, yeah.
Uh, so what if we come from the backward? Uh, like we take the last character as a number and see if it is a sum of previous two elements. If it won't, uh, so we can take 2 digits and see two to previous two and the previous of previous two can sum up to this number. Uh,
So rather than starting from front, you are doing the same thing from back, right?
no, but
Or
this way,
any advantage? Okay.
because if we come from backward, if suppose right now I'm considering the last number as x number of digits, then so we know that only if we add some y number of digits with y number of digits, we can get y number of digits or y plus 1 number of digits, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So whatever we consider last number of digits, we just need to check whether that many are possible before and before of that. So that way we don't need to find all the combinations.
Possible.
Yeah, I
But
was
So,
I,
thinking.
Dilip, can you explain this? Oh, sorry, Santosh, go ahead.
oh, but actually, Dilip, the way we were discussing earlier, starting from the first one,
Yeah.
from left to right instead of, and you were saying doing it from right to left. So what is an advantage? I look at it
Yeah.
as the same thing,
Mm.
Yeah, so I was thinking like so from starting we don't know how many digits the first number have. Like we have some a, b, and c. So only thing is we need is a plus b has to be c. So we don't know how many digits a has, and we don't know how many digits b has. So that we try all the possible number of digits for a and all the possible number of digits for b, and see if that value equal to c, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So if you're coming from backward, then I can say if suppose c is of x digits, c is 1, 2, 3, then I can definitely say that the backward numbers will be equal to 3 digits or 2 digits.
Yeah, but even then, right? Like you are saying that you start with C with a certain number of digits, and then you explore the corresponding combinations of A and B, right? What number of digits they can have. So, and then if that doesn't match, you have to try another number of, like the digit count you have to change for C. So, isn't it like another just a variation of coming from, like in the
Yeah,
first,
but
we are playing
I
with
think
two.
I was thinking like this way we need less number of possibilities. Like we are limiting because we already fixed the C, so we don't need to find if this can be possible with all before numbers, like maybe one digit of this and all these digits before that. So that's kind of
Yeah, that
Okay. Yeah.
maybe I'm not picking it. Like I'm
There is a small, small optimization what he's looking at. He's saying that if he starts from last, at least whenever if says he fixes on a number of digits, which
yeah.
he can find out. So at least he knows. In this case, if he says there are 1, 2, 3, there are 3 digits, then he is sure that the next 2 digits are going to be either 3 or 2.
Sure, sure.
So then he can actually build on that. But yeah, there will be minor optimization for sure. Yeah.
No, but
No,
Vivek
because
was saying like, why
my
can't we have single digit also? Like 1 plus 122 can also be right.
Right. So he's saying, okay, if I fix on the last one, to some extent there will be some, because then it will be fixed one, right? So if you find the 3 digit, yeah, but Dilip, again, it will be the same thing.
yeah.
If we in the start also, if you do it, yeah, but some people are used to do it from the right side, right? So that is
okay,
slightly
yeah,
easier. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can do it both ways will work, I would say. Yeah.
We can have this as single digit also, right? This one and this as 122.
Yeah, you'll still have to start from the big backside. Start with first digit, 1 digit, then 2, and then 3, and then keep on building on that. Yeah. Yeah. So the better, whatever usually people go from the left side, means I at least will try to go from the left side
Yeah.
because I feel more convenient to do that. Yeah. So that is a good way of doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that is like normal, like, but he has implemented. So you want to share, like, Dilip?
Also, there's one more condition that can help us to limit the length. Like they have said that there should be at least 3 numbers. So we can divide the length by 3, and that would be the maximum length for each number. Like if the length is 9, then the maximum length a number can achieve is 3, because we need at least one combination.
Not necessarily, I believe. I mean, why just n by 3? I mean, we can tweak these two things, right? A and B in terms of their lengths, and then obtain the third number.
Yeah, so I mean, for second, let's see, for second, the A and B's maximum length can be 3 and 3. If you increase it more than that, there won't be any space in the string, so we can get that result, right? Like if we take 4, A's length and B's length is 3, there won't be any number which has length 4.
So what if we take the length of A as 4 and the length of B as 2, and then the rest 3 would be for C?
It won't be possible, right? As a number is already 4 digit, adding any number to that will be also 4 digit, right?
Right.
Vivek also had a comment here.
Yeah, at one place. I couldn't get that, Vivek, if you can explain that.
So he's saying that if you have those numbers like 9, okay, if the string has 9 letters in it, so if you divide that by 3, because we at least have to have 3 numbers, right? So max what we can attend will be n by
Multiple.
3, yeah, 9 by 3, so it will be 3. So you cannot go more than 3, right?
Yeah,
No,
sure.
but this is a counted example, right? What Vivek has presented in the chat.
Given.
1 plus triple
Yeah.
4.
That is what the 4 plus 1.
Yeah, that
No, but
also counts as 9.
okay.
So in this case, it will be 4, 4, 8, and 9. Okay, in this case, then it will be go out of that. Okay, so we'll still have to look for all. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for these two digits, the addends, their maximum length can be, I mean, not more than
N by 2, yeah.
half of that, right? N by 2.
So at least we'll have to go to n by 2. Yeah, so that is the max we can go. Yeah.
N minus 1 by 2.
Okay. So how about because now the implementation is clear, right? We start with one digit, okay, for the first number, okay, and the second number also will be a one digit. We try to add them, and then we try to find the sum, that is the third number. If it's matching and that is present in our string, okay, so we go ahead, or else we actually start incrementing the second number, okay, and then increment it to 2, and we keep on incrementing our second number to n till it reaches n by 2, correct?
Yeah.
And if we don't find, then we actually start incrementing our first number, okay,
And
so
by
which
two, I
was,
couldn't get again. Like,
so match, so less than n by 2, because in the case what Dilip has been showing, and sorry, Vivek has shown the example, right? 1444.
yeah.
So if we count all the digits, is going to be 9 divided by 2, what we are looking at for, right? So if 9 divided by 2 will be 4, so max if we go to 4, so that should be fine. Right, so we'll have to have two for loops, and then we'll have to form some substrings, and then just find the sum of that. If we don't find it, then we keep doing it. So it is just like going through the whole string, right?
Yeah. And zero also you'll have to take care, right? Leading
Yeah,
zero.
we'll have to find out if there is a invalid condition in that case. So whenever we are adding that, if you find an invalid case, we return it.
Yeah.
So those are the conditions what we are actually going to use to stop our further incrementing the numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
Santosh, one thing. So we have lengths for our A and B, right? So how do you decide the length for C? Because it can be either equal or just one greater.
No, actually, the length for the third one will be based on the first two numbers. So whenever we have two numbers, we add them. So whatever is that number, we just go and find that in the rest of the string. Correct?
Okay, you add that number. Okay.
Yeah, we add those first two numbers, and then we go and start from the whatever the remaining string is. We start finding that from the first position of that remaining string. And soon as we hit that number, we just take that number and we say, okay, this is the one number which will be a second number now, and then we'll go to the previous second number, make it first number, and then we'll add them again, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so DFS implementation is also good way of doing it, right? Recursively doing it.
Recursive. Yeah.
Okay, so
If somebody wants to share, like,
okay.
okay, then. Yeah, I can share then, right?
Okay, you can
Or-
go ahead, no problem.
Yeah, so it's just this is the additive number. So what I'm doing, I'm going through the entire string from left, and this part I'm doing for avoiding the zero. Like uh, let's say if I 0, 2, and 3. So what I'm doing, I'm converting first this to end, and after converting it, I'll get 23, and now again I'll convert it to string. This, and I'll check if the length of these two are equal, then only that will be valid case, otherwise it will be invalid, just to take care of the leading zeros.
Okay, the invalid condition.
Yeah, so that is what first I'm converting, just for a sec. Yeah, so first I'm taking that number and up to I, and then converting it to int, and then I'm checking whether the length of these two numbers are exactly equal or not. If they are not exactly equal string wise, that means a leading zero is there definitely for them, right?
Yeah.
Because while converting to integer, that zero got removed. Then I'll return break in that case. And for every I, I'm running this j, and again the same thing I'm doing. From I to j, I'll take and check whether there is any leading zeros. If it is, then we'll return from there. Otherwise, I'm defining a recursion in which I'll pass first number, ith number, and jth number, and number till that, from j to the end, and
Very
a
minimum,
boolean,
okay.
yeah, and a false like boolean variable to check whether it is found or not. So I'll go to this. This is my base case. Like n1 plus nu, when you n1 plus n2 you are doing, and after that you are getting an empty string, and your found is also true, then you'll return true, right?
Oh, so you are at the end of the string. So it means you have not, returned before that. So it was not false
Yeah,
because you have come to the end of string. So all your numbers were matching.
matching.
Therefore, you are coming to the end of string. Okay, makes sense.
It's like 23 is there, 34. So this will be what, 37, right? So one pair you found this, next you will do this. So sum of these two should be 51. But now you have empty string here, right? And your found is equal to 2. So you already found that till here you have valid sequence. And after this, there is an empty string. So that means you have found a good pair.
Yeah, so at the end, we are actually satisfied because when we are going through the recurrence relationship, we are
Yeah.
always going to the next recursion only when the first two are met, right?
Match. Yeah.
Yeah, so we find a sum, then only we go ahead, or else we are returning false, correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is what like n3 will be. I mean, the rule like n3 will be sum of n1 plus n2 and converting it to the string.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm taking up to which minimum index, like length of n3 or the length of the s.
Okay.
And up to that, if it is equal to n3, then again I'll recursively call on same thing. Like again, the same process will what do you say? If you found that no, you whatever index till that you got n3, you found that like 99 plus 100 you did, and you found 199. So you got all the 3 digit, right?
Yeah.
So that means that's a valid case. So I can recurse further.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can we just run through an example in this? And also
Yes.
Vivek was suggesting, like if there is a case, like if we have 1 and 0, okay, as n1 and n2, 1 and 0, okay, and obviously if it is valid, then we'll have 1 again, right? 1, 0, 1.
Yeah.
So can we do a dry run? But 1 plus
Let me.
0 will be an invalid in your case, correct? If we
Yeah,
have
because
n1 as 1 and n2 as 0, and we have another, so if your input string was 101, so will that be an valid or invalid? I think it will be an invalid case,
I
correct?
think it would be
no, it
valid.
will. I mean, single zero you can have, right? But you can't have a leading zero.
Okay.
The
Like
length would be same in line number 18.
Only leading number, a leading zero should not be there. Okay.
there, right? This is valid. Single zero if you have, it's valid. It will be n2 and this will be n1. And if you find one, it's a valid case. But if you have 0, 2, this is not a valid one.
Okay. So in this way, you are taking care when you are breaking that, right? Because
Yeah,
you
exactly.
compare that one.
This part. Like I'll convert first this to int. So if I'll convert int, I'll get 2. And now I'll again convert it to string. So if after converting the string, if I find these two strings are exactly equal, that means there was no leading zeros.
Okay. But
Yeah.
but that condition, what you are checking for this break, on 18th number, right? Line number
Okay.
18 and line number 14, they are out of your recursion. So
Yeah,
what
it
if
is out
you
of.
get something inside the recursion? Are you handling that case?
If I'm getting inside the recursion, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I mean, for some path I'm getting good, and all of a sudden in between I'm getting something like this, right?
Okay. So, okay.
So
So in the recursion, you are actually converting into integer form and then you are sending them inside. Is that
I
what you
think
have?
this one is. You go ahead.
Okay. So in your recursion, okay, I don't understand Python well. So your n1 and n2, they are integers. Is that correct?
This one, these two.
Yeah, the parameter what you are passing in that line
Yeah,
number
these two are
2.
integers. N1 and N2 are integers.
And s is
And
a
then
string. Okay.
and passing, and I'm clubbing these two integers and converting them to string
Okay.
and
And
checking
then,
whether that is equal to N3 or not.
okay. And then you look for that in the length of your string.
String. Yeah.
So that will take care of your leading zero also in this case.
Yeah, there itself. This will take care of. because string if it is, then because integer I'm adding and then converting to string, so that 0 will be automatically removed, right?
So when you have n1 as 1 and n2 as 0, 2 in this case, so what your n3 will be? It will be 3, right?
N1 is what?
N1 is 1 and
Okay.
N2 is 0, 2.
Yeah.
So your N3 will be 3 in that case, correct?
N3 will be 3, yes. Because
And then, okay, so what you are going to look for that minimum of length N3 and len of S.
S. So your length of N3 is what? If in your string
One.
it will be as 3, right? Oh, sorry, 1 it is.
Length would be 1.
Yeah, length will be 1.
Okay.
In
Because I
every
was
recursion call,
thinking in recursion call also you should check that string length, right? If it is a leading 0. I don't know. Maybe the Python
It will be taken care here, right?
handles it. Yeah, it
So
might
see,
be because I don't understand that. Yeah, so
yeah, 1 plus 0, 3 when you do and convert, so 1 plus 0, 3 will be what? 3 you will get. N1 and 2 initially are strings. Sorry, what is it? It
number.
is in number. So your string length will be 3, right? And now N3 you are comparing it with, so N3 is your string, right?
Okay, your N3 is not. Oh, you are saying that is a string. Okay, you are converting it to string, and therefore you are comparing.
Yeah.
So then you are comparing with the length of string, but that can be okay.
That is for the last case, I think.
Oh, okay.
If the length exceeds the length of the string.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Shank, in this line number 7, this colon index, this takes this. How does this work?
It works like up to index. It will leave the IDX and 1 less before that. So like if you write is as 3, so it will take up to 2. ABC is there, so it will consider only these 2.
Okay. So in this case, like for this example, 102, what would be this part? Let's say the string is 1023.
String is 1023, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
And
if I
assume you
try
are in the
to,
middle of a recursion, yeah.
so what is this
So,
value? S. Yeah.
so initially you'll give 1 and will pass 2 here, right?
Okay.
So this will be 3 and you're converting it to str. So you'll have 3 as your str, right?
3 as N3, right?
N3, yeah, 3 N3 will be your 3.
Okay.
And now this is again we are converting it to integer and passing it for the next call.
Okay.
So index would be in this IDX would be what? 1, right?
IDX will be 1, yes.
So that would be this 1 0. Am I missing something?
1 0.
Like,
No,
I'm
1
just
it's
0 I
trying to.
think.
because it's taking the minimum of that, so it will be 1, right? So IDX should be 1, right?
Right. So I'm
It will
asking
be
about
1, yeah.
this S of square brackets colon IDX.
He is taking whatever is the remaining. So what he's going to do is when the IDX is 1, so what you are going, we are actually removing the first one, whatever the first digit, and then you are moving for the whatever is the remaining. So he's converting into a substring, starting
And
from the location IDX, but that is 1.
yeah.
Oh no, I think that should be the length, right?
So
Yeah.
N3 we got as 1, right?
IDX is the length, yeah.
N3.
Yeah, IDX. Now minimum of length of N3. So N3, this will be 1, comma length of S you will have. So what will be length of S?
That will be a bigger one, might be bigger one, but in this
From
case it's only
starting,
1, yeah.
yeah. So now it will match, it is matching with this, 1 with 1. Then it will go for the next. Again, I'll convert this to integer and for
Yeah,
the
makes
one.
sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So if your IDX is after the colon, it means it is the length, right? And if it is before the colon, it means it is the index.
Index.
So you're forming a substring. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So, but only thing is here you are actually converting into string every time. First you are converting integer and then converting to a string.
And
So
then
it would
checking.
have been, yeah, it would have been better if you could have kept the string as is and just add two strings to integer string. That also could be a one way of doing it.
So 103 you are telling. So here you'll take this as one string, right?
Yeah, so you just use these as strings only instead of converting to integers. And then you do string addition. So you will have one as a string and 02 as another string, and then you just do that two string addition, and then compare with the sum, which will be another
So
string.
string addition will be concatenation only 102, right?
Right, right. So because you are converting to integer, again converting back to string, so you could actually do it in the string.
Same way.
So yeah,
Okay.
so another way of implementing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
we can walk through it if we want.
yeah, no problem. So I'll just quickly show you mine also because I've
Yeah.
done almost similar to yours, but I'm just using a string addition.
Okay.
So this one, I'm using two for loops, and here actually this is my this recursion. So what I'm doing is I'm converting into two substrings, one which is
Okay.
starting from 0 to I, and the other is starting from I to J. That is the second number, and then actually whatever is remaining will be my third string, and then passing that to that this check function.
Function. Okay.
So it is the same what you are doing, but these are all the strings here, num1, num2, and num. And then just comparing, then this is what is the function which adds to string, right? So just this is the one which actually goes through each and every string, looks for a carry and the sum and all that, and then form the new string and returns it, right? So when you have this sum, you just compare with your this one, whatever is remaining, right? So you just compare it to the same, you return true, okay? Or else then you look for if the current num, whatever you have, is lesser than this sum of size, okay? Or because we're trying to find the invalid cases, right? If the num actually what you have done, whatever the additions you have done, the sum, okay, is supposed to be greater than the remaining string, it is invalid case. Or if you find something like your, here also I'm checking for the invalid cases, right? If your num itself is of size greater than 1, and if you have 0 as a leading, or for num2 also. So this is what the invalid case. Or else you have this sum and then you compare with your sum size. If it is not 0, then you return false.
False net. Okay.
And again go through the recursion. So in this
Same.
case, you change num2 as num1, and then your sum will be your num2 in that case, and then what this will be the remaining string. Yeah, but it is they're almost the same what you have done, but instead of converting from string to integer, I'm just keeping the strings here and then doing it. This is just another approach. Yeah.
Approach. Yeah. So
Yeah, Harshit.
Can you explain this line 7? What are we doing here?
So line 7 is like where, so this is your remaining number, right? What you come. So if your sum, when you have added number 1 and number 2, you get a value sum, which is your third number. If that number is a string, is size of that string is greater than your whatever is the remaining string, right? So that is false.
Okay, right.
Yeah, or else if you compare whatever your sum, whatever your with the one which you are having with the sum size, if they are not matching, right?
Okay.
It should match. If it doesn't match, then you return false.
Okay.
Or else then if you are matching, then you go inside this and again you break those
So
two
if it's
strings.
matching, then why are we like interchanging this?
Yeah, because we have to move ahead, right? So the num1,
Okay.
yeah, num2 just pushing.
And you are finding this addition part from the left, right?
Addition has to be from the left.
That's why you are reversing.
Yeah. So instead of reversing, you can use the strings insert also, right? So that could have also been a better way of doing it. But yeah, this has been reversed, yeah. Yeah, it's the same one what you have done, Shashank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so shall we move to next or any queries in the previous?
Yeah.
So regarding the time complexity, we didn't talk, right? So we are
Oh.
visiting the string only once, right?
Yeah, this should be, but even if we are visiting, we are actually traversing for all sizes.
Okay,
So
yeah.
will that not be n square? I think it should be n square or maybe more than that.
Yeah, n square plus we are also comparing the sum string, right?
Yeah,
So n square into n.
because then we are going in the recursion and then we are comparing for all the values. Even if we go to the end and then we again traverse back or something like a backtrack again and then again start for the next digit. So it will be more than n square, correct?
Yeah.
But it won't be more than n cube.
No, it won't be.
N square plus. Okay. Yeah. Worst case would be n cube. Yeah.
Worst case will be
N
n cube.
cube. Yeah. I think yeah, right.
I don't know. I'm just thinking loud.
It should be like that. I mean, every n square is for sure. That's sure. Like it will be. But again, we are this converting to string, and then for the result, what you are getting again comparing with the next. Shouldn't it be?
So for every n square, I mean for every pair we choose for A and B, we are traversing the entire string, right?
Entire
Yeah.
string we are not
So
traversing.
yeah,
If we get in the third itself, then we are done, right? Like 1 plus 1 you choose, then you got 2 only here itself. So you are
yeah.
not covering the entire string in that case, right?
No, you'll have to cover the entire string. Then you move this pointer, like you make this one and this two, and then check for three, and then for
Oh,
two,
that
three.
way, yeah, that way, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think for every n square we are doing n. So n
Yeah.
cube it should be.
Yeah. I think that way. Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay.
But there are optimizations because whenever we hit and some non-matching things we return. So
Yeah.
average it might not be that, but yeah, but worst case will be n cube. Yeah.
And Santosh, one thing in your code for the first for loop, you were taking I till uh, equal to n by 2.
Right. Right.
So if I is equal to n by 2, then if you're then j can be anything from 1 to n minus 1 by 2, right? But how will you obtain your answer in that case?
Okay. Can I share that again? Shan, can you? Okay. So see in this. So I am starting from size will be 1 to less than n by 2. okay, equal to or almost to n by 2. Okay, the same thing will be, so whatever is remaining will come here. But what will happen, in your this string, if the string size of num1 and num2 they are more, okay, so I won't have any space for num3, correct? So here when I come in this string, okay, so if you look at this one for the second one, when I compare that, right? So this condition won't meet, right? So I'll return false from here.
Yeah.
But it will go through this recursion at least for the first one and then do a comparison here and return.
I think it should work if you set it as n minus 1 by 2 also.
Yeah, it should be. What you say makes sense. If I just do it that way, that should also be possible. The first example will surely work. No, it is not working for this one. 1, 2, 3.
J should be as it is only.
It is not working. So it needs this one for 1 year also. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So why that wasn't working? 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Okay. Maybe I'll just check that and let you know in this Slack. Okay. Some weird case. It's a corner case. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. But that's a good catch, Harshit. Yeah.
Yeah, next is our like perfect number. So we define a perfect number as a positive integer that is equal to sum of all its positive divisors except itself. So like 28 is there. So for 28, other than 28, these are like, what do you say? Sum of, if you add them, it will be equal to the number itself.
So all these numbers are the divisors
Of
for your 28. Okay.
Yeah. And your n won't exceed 10 raised to the power 8, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is almost like a almost bigger int max, closer to int max. Yeah, but
Int
not
max,
exactly
yeah.
int max. Yeah.
So brute force would be lot like check every number whether it divides 28 and then sum them up, right?
Right. So you start with number 1. Okay.
2, because 1 will always be by default for everything.
Right. So you can start off by 2, and then 2 till you're less than or equal to n, less than n, because you cannot take that number, right?
Yeah.
And then you divide that number if it is divisible, because if you don't have any remainder, so you can take that I value, whatever you are actually dividing it by, the divisor, and then you keep on adding it. As soon as you come to that value, which is equal to your num, then you can return true, right? So that will be a very straightforward, simple for loop, which you start from 2, and you will always have your answer to be 1 first, because you're adding to some number, right? So
Yeah.
you start with the answer as 1, and then you keep on adding all the divisors till you reach the number which is lesser than your original number, right? And then you don't find, if you find the match, you return true. If you don't find, then you return false.
And divisors will also be, divisor of any number will fall only up to, you can find only up to square root of that number only, right? Till that point. I mean, for 28, it won't exceed 14. Not 14, 28 square will be what? 25 is 5.
So yeah,
28
in
is
that
2%.
case, see, if you say for 28, so you are saying that you can look only for square root, but you have 14 also, right? In this case.
No, so once you get that number, you divide that number with this number, you'll get the other factor. Like what I was saying, let's say 2 is there, okay? Square root of 28 is 5, right?
Square root of 28
is 5
Okay.
point something you will
Okay.
get. So when you get 2 as a number, 2 will divide 28, right?
Right.
Yeah, then you divide 2, you take that 28 divide by 2, so the other number 14 you will automatically get, which will also be a divisor. So you don't need to look for half more than 5. It's
Okay.
like this, like say 28, I went for 2, 28 divided by 2 is dividing 28, so 2 is one of our factor, right? The other factor will be 28 by 2, 14. Now I look for 3, 3 won't divide, so no problem. 4, now when you look 4, 4 is dividing your 28, and the other number which it will divide, you divide this 28 by 4, 7 you will get. So I'm not going everywhere and I got everything factors, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are
I'm
saying that you just do this, whatever I was explaining earlier, till your square root value only. Correct. And so whenever you are finding that, you take the sort of a complement of that, whatever the divisor you get, right? You divide that your original number by that divisor. And so whatever your value you will get the
other
divisor which which is the other side of that square root. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. I never thought of this. Yeah. Okay. So this will
This
be
concept
very
is used
efficient.
many ways. Yeah. That makes it efficient. Like only 5 steps we are going, right? Up to 5 from 2, 3, 4, 5.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do that. Did a very sort of a crude way, but it still got accepted. What I did is, first thing is I ignored all the odd cases.
Okay.
If we have an odd number, just ignore it. Okay, because you won't be able to find any such combination.
Definitely.
But then if you have an even number, you first divide that even number by 2. Keep on dividing. So you are actually reducing to half. So when you reduce to half to such an extent that you cannot divide further, then you start looking for from your number 2, and then keep on dividing it and find a divisor, and then you add. So that also works in the sense it get accepted.
Yeah, it
It
should.
gets accepted, but it didn't give a very good time complexity. But the way you are describing, that might be slightly better.
I went through an article. I mean, I saw it. Then actually, this concept is also used many places. Like rather than explicitly going throughout the length, you can go to the root of that number, and the other factor will generate from the what do you say?
Okay, yeah. No, this
Yeah,
makes
while
sense.
finding whether number is prime or not, we do the same thing. Just go till the
Okay.
root of
Prime, I'm not sure. Let's check. Prime, let's say 3 or 7, right?
yeah.
So 7
Yeah.
square root will be what? 4? Sorry, 2 point something.
Yeah, 2.
3 will be 9. Then all I think it should be 2 point something.
Right.
So 7 you told. So 2 I am taking, right? So 2 will not divide 7. 3 will also not divide 7.
I don't know. So what I'm saying is, you start from 1 and you go to the root of that number. If you are able to find a factor for that number, then it's not a prime number. Otherwise, it would be a prime number. Because for any
Oh,
factor lying,
yeah, go ahead.
so for any factor lying between 1 to root n, there would be
Hmm.
a corresponding factor between root n to n. So we just have to check whether that number is prime to just check whether we can obtain a factor from 1 to root n or not.
Yeah. So this is like you're telling the check how to check a prime number, right?
Yeah.
Efficiently using the square root method. Yeah. Yeah, that works. So if you get any factor between 1 to root n, then definitely the other factor will be there. So you'll stop there itself. Yeah, 1 to root n. If you so any factor is there between, in fact, 2 to root n you can start, right?
Yeah, but in this case, we still have to find the other factors also, which are
Yeah.
from root n to n minus 1.
Yeah.
Right. That
No,
we
you
can
were
do
saying
now.
for if it is a
Find the
prime,
factor
like how will you?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Harshit.
No. If we find a factor between 2 to root n, we can simply divide that factor from the original number to get the second factor.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So this is what my implementation is.
Yeah, before you go to your good implementation, I'll just show you mine,
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
which is
Yeah.
sort of a, what you say, a better brute force, but it is still a brute force. Okay, so if you look here, what I'm doing, I just look for if the number is less than or equal to 2,
Mhm.
and if it is a odd number, I return false, or else if it is even, then I get whatever the number is, it is always going to be even, and then I keep on dividing it by 2, like reducing to half, and then keep incrementing my answer, and then at the end I start from whatever is the remaining from 2 to the number, and then keep on adding the same thing. If I find its divisor, add that, and whenever I hit on this number equals my answer, they return true, or and then also do the same thing. And this also got accepted, so it was given not bad though, because earlier ones were too bad for me. So yeah, I got one like 1088 milliseconds, but so I thought this was also a good one to do. So worst
Yeah,
case,
it's
if I'm not
improvement.
able to, come with your implementation the way you think, so this
Yeah, this
was
is a
also
neat
a better
writing.
one.
This is like more intuitive. I mean, at first, everybody will try this only, the one which you are saying.
Yeah, the
Until and
first
unless.
one I did was like I didn't even use all this stuff, you know.
Okay.
I just started from 2 to the last one,
Number.
whatever we are.
Okay.
Even was not including the odd numbers. So, but it was going, but it was giving me something like 1088 millisecond. It was too high. Yeah. So then I started implementing one by one, and then it came to, it was at least getting accepted. But I'm not sure this will be a good way. Someone will accept this in an interview, but just wanted to share.
Yeah, sure. I think like 5 times it got improved, right? 5x.
Yeah, but this is what the lead code says. But whatever lead code says may not be the right way for the implementation, right? In some cases, the time complexity, they can't actually find a good
Yeah.
profiling for their test cases. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Santosh, how did
Yes.
you make the conclusion that odd numbers cannot have this?
Well, if you see odd number, if you divide, I just actually went on pencil paper, tried dividing some of them, but you cannot form any odd number, with any divisor. You
Yeah.
try to take a couple of examples, then you come to a conclusion, okay, you cannot form a divisor of that. And then I actually implemented that in this one, and it got accepted. So I just said, okay, the odd numbers are not going to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a general case, you should not make, but if you keep on doing for some odd numbers, like maybe take something 13, 17, okay. So even you take
19.
27 also, it doesn't work. So then I thought, okay, maybe remove all the odd numbers. So then it was fine. It worked that
Yeah,
way.
that's a good observation.
Yeah. Yeah, Shashank, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, mine is like, I mean, I'm also checking that odd number concept, what you're saying. Only if it is even, then that particular number, and you divide that number with the other factor, complement one. So that
No,
we are
this is
summing
not
and it
odd
This is
number.
not odd, yeah. This is not
You're
odd.
just checking whether that number is divisible.
Divisible, yeah.
even here, like, yeah, divisible, like if it is equal to 0.
Yeah, this is only finding a divisor. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other factor we are getting by dividing by that particular I. And if it is greater than num, then false. Otherwise, if it is equal, then you return true. Otherwise, the other condition is like false.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I was reading through the solutions of this number, this problem, and they are actually giving some examples of that mathematical based solution.
Yeah, Euclid
I
number, right?
yeah, I didn't understand it, but I'm not sure whether that will be okay to discuss in an interview, right? But
Yeah, then
just sort of bringing here,
Which one? Which
go
one?
down.
if you go down.
More.
Yeah.
Here.
No, I
No,
still
down.
go
Go
down.
down.
Yeah, this
Oh,
way.
Euclid theorem. This one, right?
I think, I
Right.
mean, these are, if you know it before, then it's okay. But we won't get any brownie points for this.
Right, right. Um, it would be good to know for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, so what he's saying is if you prove 2 raised to p minus 1 multiplied by 2 raised to p minus 1 is an even perfect number. So the way the proof and everything is slightly explaining it to some extent. Maybe it's more of an implementation though.
So there
Yeah, so but if we
only
just go through this, so if you take p equals 3, and now I think all the p's are the prime numbers, right? So
2,
for
3,
the
5, 7.
first value, you have p equals 2. So he's saying when he's writing 21, it doesn't mean 21, it is 2 raised to 1 in this case. And in the bracket, he's saying 2 raised to 2, not 22. So 2 raised to 1 is 2, and 2 raised to 2 is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. So 3 into 2 is 6. Same case with 3 also. So the same formula, what is saying is 2 raised to 2. Here it is again 2 raised to 2. And it's not 23 again there. It is 2 raised to 3 minus 1. So 2 raised to 2 will be 4. And 2 raised to 3 will be 8 minus 1 is 7. 4 7 is 28. Right? So that is the way he is getting all these numbers.
We have to remember that theorem, right?
Yeah, that is what. And also, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So if you look at the some of the implementation in the lead code, they are coming with 4 to 5 numbers, of all the integer values. And if you hit on those numbers, and out of that, 28 is one of them. I think 6 also is one of them, right?
Yeah, I saw one.
Yeah. So there are only 5 such numbers. And if you get any of them, you return true, or else you return false.
This one
Right.
I don't know. Python. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This you are telling, right?
Correct. Yeah. So these are the only 5 numbers which are valid integer perfect squares, right? What they call it? Yeah.
So he's getting that number by that formula, right?
Yes. So in an integer max, you can have this last number. And if you just put them in some sort of a map or a set, another set, yeah, and then you hit on any of these number, you return true or else return false.
Yeah, it's a very crisp one.
Yeah, but that he's deriving it from based on that formula 2 raised to p multiplied 2 raised to p minus 1.
Yeah. These are all perfect numbers, okay.
Oh, sorry, perfect numbers. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but it's
So anyone is aware of this theorem proof?
all theorem. First time I heard like
Arshit?
Not me, not me.
Oh, okay. Because once you actually try to implement everything, because you are in that problem solving mode, you implement everything, run through all these, some of the optimal solutions when you get to it. And then when you say a theorem like this, you feel like, you're totally thrown out, So if such thing comes in an interview, it will be very
extra advantage.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think an advantage. It's just.
No, it's not advantage, but yeah, but you throws out. Okay.
The guy will think that he's a bit mathematical, like, I mean,
R&D area I can enter something like that, right?
Yeah.
Not
Can
sure.
we, I think we are done with our discussions on this, but right? Can we just
Yeah,
stop
sure,
the
sure.
recording? Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure.